Agati, and I'm a nutritionist with the Ministry of Health. And I'm here today to share with you a very crucial topic of nutrition. Nutrition in everything. Nutrition in children, nutrition as we grow, nutrition as adults, and nutrition as elderly people, right? So this is not a very new topic. We all know about nutrition. The question is, what do we know, and how are we living our lives to ensure that we are at optimal health and productivity? We are doing all of, we're performing to our best, and we are living our best lives. My colleague, Madam Sarah, will be taking you through the first part of this session, and she will be covering feeding.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I hope we are all fine. As I've been introduced, my name is Nagwama Sarah, and I'm also a nutritionist with the Ministry of Health. I'm very privileged to speak to you this morning about feeding in general, feeding for our children and also us as adults. So unfortunately, power is off. I cannot project. I'm going to read through. However, I don't want this to be more like a lecture. I request that it is more interactive, where you can chip in. That in that way, it is easy to remember what we are going to discuss. So to start with, we are going to talk about a balanced diet, which is the foundation of feeding at all stages of life. When you talk of a balanced diet, it's a meal that contains all nutrients in their right amounts to support nutrition requirements of the body. I don't know if you're together. I said I don't want it to be more like a lecture. But to break it down, when I talk of a balanced diet, it's that contains at least these three nutrients that I'm going to talk about. That is carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, then vitamins and minerals and all the others. But to put it in a practical sense, we've set up this. I hope we can all see. So I've talked about carbohydrates being the first stage. Probably you may not remember what carbohydrates are. But to break it down, these are energy-giving foods. Are we together? Yes. Energy-giving food. So for whichever meal that you have, you should ensure there are sources of energy. So some of the examples, we have sweet potatoes. I hope you cannot see. Sweet potatoes. There is matoke. And there is rice. There are still so many other examples, though these are the ones that we've been able to bring here for demonstration. So is there anyone who could be knowing any other sources of energy, all carbohydrates in our diet? Yes, Mr. Taylor. Yes, please. All the answers. That is very true. Is there any example that we know, a source of energy in what we eat? Cassava. That is very true. Thank you so much. Any other? Glucose. Yes, that is also very true. So, those are the examples of energy. Every time you're having a meal, ensure there is a source of energy in your meal. Are we together? The other thing is proteins. When I talk of proteins, I mean the bodybuilding foods, especially for our children that are growing up. Bodybuilding food, proteins. That's the examples we have there include fish. I hope you can all see. There is fish for bodybuilding. Then there is meat. There are ground nuts. There is milk. Among so many other examples that you're going to give me. Who knows any other examples of bodybuilding foods in our diets? When you're eating at home, what do you eat? And I'm like, surely, this is going to build maybe my little body or my body. Oh, we just eat. We just eat to feel that stop eating. Are you full? Yes. Yeah, sure. There are many. Any other example? Yes. Yes, thank you so much. Any other example? There are so many examples of proteins. Now, I gave you a clue on how to remember the bodybuilding foods. Mostly the main food. For example, if you ask your family, what are we going to eat today? And they tell you maybe posho and beans. The posho is the one that gives energy, while the beans are the ones that are building the body. So every time you're planning a meal, ensure they are energy-giving foods, they are body-building foods, and then we move on to the other. They are more of protective foods. Are we together? We call these, and for the protective foods, they include fruits and vegetables. We call them protective foods because they boost immunity. I hope I'm not so fast. So we are saying the other is the fruits and vegetables. Among the examples of fruits, we have here watermelon, we have our pineapple, we have our passion fruit, we have our sweet bananas, and then for the vegetables, we have the cabbage, we have the pumpkin, the eggplants. This is nakati, buga, intura, carrots, tomatoes, among so many other things. We are calling these protective foods. Reason being, they boost the immunity. So every time you're having a meal, or if you're planning a meal for your child, ensure it has these 3 nutrients. The first one being carbohydrates, but carbohydrates might be more complicated. Better I'll call them energy-giving foods so that it can remind us that they're used in the body. Are we together? So the first is energy-giving foods, and then the other bodybuilding, and then lastly, you're such a brilliant class. So we decided to put water aside to remind us that always we have to rehydrate our bodies. Are we together? Like after planning your meal or your family's meal, ensure that they still drink a lot of water or even any other fluids for as long as they are safe in order to hydrate their body. I hope we are together. Yes. I don't know if you can all see. Yeah. But this is how it should be, because now we've talked about what your plate should include. Another person would be wondering in what proportions. It's not just about the quality, but also quantity matters. Are we together? You see nowadays when you go for Bipolo, there is a whole buffet. Someone will get a lot of chicken, a lot of meat, and little drinks. Because it's not about having a balanced diet. They will ensure it's balanced. However, limiting some. Yes, so we are saying vegetables and fruits should consist of the biggest portion of your plate. Yes. And how many of us do that? We are saying fruits and vegetables should consist the biggest proportion of your plate. How many of us do that? You go for a buffet and the biggest portion is chicken. It's meat. We don't allow you to eat. Okay, so this other slide is talking about the importance of nutrients, but I think we've already seen them. We are saying that the carbohydrates are for giving us energy. The proteins are for building the body, while these other ones, they are protective foods to boost our immunity. And then we've also talked about water, hydrating. What are the importances of water in the body? I listed some here, though some are scientific, but I'll try to break them down. The first one is about temperature regulation through sweating. Of course, sweating is water, right? So when you drink, you're able to, it's more of excretion, yeah? I don't know. Excretion, you're getting rid of waste from the body. It's getting out through water. I hope we are together. Yes. And then there is also, nowadays we have UTIs, infections, urinary tract infections. They are very rampant. If you hydrate enough, you're able to get rid of some of these. And then there is also moisturizing the skin, especially the ladies. We want our skins to glow. Hydrating is very important in that role. And then there is also headaches. If you're dehydrated, or if your child is dehydrated, there will be high chances of having headaches every now and then. So hydrating is very important. So we continue to say matters. We've talked about a balanced diet. We've said quality and quantity matters. But also at the different stages of life, there are different factors that are going to influence body's nutrient needs. Are we together? Like we are different people. What you need is not exactly what I need. So I want us to look at those factors. Which other factors affect what each one of us needs? Are we together? In that we even have like 4 children, but each one of them has different nutrient needs and different. Exactly. Madam, you seem lost. You're not? That's good. So the first factor is age and stage of life. We are going to look at this at different ages, at different stages of life. Our children need different quantities of nutrients in their body. I've emphasized the balanced diet being the foundation, but now I'm speaking in terms of quantities. We know, anyway, I'll look at that when the time comes. Our children are growing. So at that stage of rapid growth, what nutrients should we measure on in terms of quantities? When I talk of measuring, it's not that we are leaving out these other nutrients. No, they are still there. However, they will need one nutrient or the other in more quantities than the others. I hope we are together. The other factor that is going to influence the body's nutrient need is physical activity. You may find some of us work in office whereby the whole day is seated, while others probably are more active. Are we together? So what the more active person needs is different from what a sedentary person or a person who sits in office the whole day needs. I hope we are together. I hope you're trying to see where the difference comes in terms of our nutrient needs. And then health status. If you're sick, or even if our children are sick, they will need more nutrients than the ones that are not sick. I hope that's clear. Yeah. In most cases, we know that when children are sick, they lose appetite. They eat very little. They are vomiting. And we tend to give them less. But we are saying that in that situation, they actually need more to repair any damaged cells, to boost their immunity, even more to fight. You get, and it is the time when they're actually eating less. So how do we make them eat more, even when the conditions around, for example, if they are vomiting, cannot allow them to eat more? I hope we are together. Yes. Teaching is not so easy, but okay. And then there is also gender. Of course, male need different nutrient quantities compared to us. It could be about body composition. As females, we tend to have more fat than muscle. I hope I made sense. Yeah? When you look at this, it's not just this. On top there is fat, while inside there is muscle. Now for us females, we tend to have more fat than muscle, you get. So that brings in the difference in the nutrient needs for male and female. And also the level of activity. Most males are more physically active compared to us than females. I hope we are together. Okay. So now I'm going to start talking about nutrition in our school-going age children. I decided to divide it into 2. One is for the pre-adolescents and the other is for the adolescents. So we are saying the body's requirement for nutrients is dependent on the rate of growth and development. I can repeat that. They are saying the body's requirement for nutrients is dependent on the rate of growth and development. Different stages of life have different growth rates and so different demand for nutrients. Growth in the pre-adolescent stage is slow compared to the adolescent stage. Should I repeat that? We are saying, I've decided to divide this. There are different stages of life, but we don't have the whole day here, so I decided to summarize it. For our school-going age children, I decided to divide it into the pre-adolescent and the adolescent stage. When you look at the adolescent stage, growth is very rapid compared to the pre-adolescent. So that means that even their demand for nutrients, the ones whereby growth is slower, their demand is low. Are we together? Yes. So I'll start with our very, very young children. For example, here I'm thinking they start from 3 years, around there. So we are saying children continue to grow and develop. This development is physical, cognitive, and emotional, adding many new skills rapidly with time. So as emphasizing the different growth rates at different times, I've been limited to only school-going children, but growth doesn't start there. I wanted us to compare from pregnancy. Growth is very fast. Imagine from just a single step, by the end of the 9 months, this child has grown, has developed the brain, the limbs, everything has developed in just 9 months. I hope you can see the rate of growth that happens during pregnancy. Not so? Now, after delivery, that infancy stage, still growth is very fast. When you've just delivered, a child cannot even tie themselves. You have to do that for them. Not so? But by the end of 1 year, they can even walk. They can even run. You see how fast growth is during that stage. Now, for our school-going children, 3 to 5, growth slows down. Children hardly change that much. I'm saying growth is still happening, but it is not as fast as it was in the previous stages. Are we together? And if that happens, that means that even their demand for nutrients is going to be lower. And so the appetite. In this stage, most parents are worried about the appetite of their children. My child is not eating, my child is not eating. But we are saying that is expected and it's normal. Reason being, the demand for nutrients is low. And so the appetite will be low. Growth is slower. It's happening, but it is slow. Are we together? So, we are saying these children have an inborn ability to regulate food intake, but they have no mechanism to direct them to select and consume a well-balanced diet. What this means is, children, they are born with that mechanism of controlling how much they eat. If a child tells you, I'm full, they are full. Like it's inborn, they are able to regulate that. However, what they can't regulate is the quality of what they eat. That's why we parents are here to learn about a balanced diet, because it's our responsibility to provide the quality so that for them, they control the quantity. Are we together? Our children have very small stomachs and they can only take up little food at a time. Not so? I talked about the earlier stage of infancy whereby growth is very fast, and so the demand for nutrients definitely has to be high to facilitate this high growth. And again, I'm talking about the small stomachs, and yet they need so much food at that time. So what do? We try to give them small that they can handle but frequent meals. I don't know if I'm clear. I'm saying during this young stage, infancy stage, growth is very high. And we say when growth is high, our children need a lot of nutrients to facilitate their growth. But they have small stomachs that can only hold small food at a time. So what do we do to provide enough? I'm saying we should give them small meals that they can handle, but more frequently. Are we together? So we are saying social development is also happening during this time. 3, 5, 6, they are developing. And they love imitating others. So what you as a parent is doing, chances are high that your child will imitate. Most of us don't like fruits, most of us don't like vegetables. If you're not eating them as a parent, the fact that our children are seeing, they are imitating, they are copying, they'll also leave them out. So it's up to us to be role models for our children. So we are saying at this stage, they also begin to be influenced by what they see, by what they see on television and through other forms of media. My friend is going to emphasize that. What do our children see on media? The kick snacks, the sodas, the billboards. Those are all the media highly influences their food choices. So what do they see? Apart from imitating you, the parents, they are also influenced by what they see on TV and on other platforms. I hope you are together. So during this young stage, we are going to look at the different nutritional problems, and one that I highlighted is about the dietary caries. most of our children have dental issues, and that is as a result of what we give them. We tend to give them foods that are very high in sugar. You can see this minute maid, high in sugar, and also this has added sugars. You get? So we are complaining of dental health, dental problems in our children, but it's basically as a result of what we give them, especially those that are very high in sugars. So then I move on to now the adolescent stage. I know our children are growing. We may not be having adolescents in our school, but definitely we do. Okay, so yes. So we are saying adolescents, these are teenagers, and they are aged 13 to 19. And we are saying it's a considerable change. We are saying this period is characterized by rapid biological changes that occur during puberty. And there is sexual maturation, increases in height, increase in weight, and there is also accumulation of skeletal mass and changes in body composition. One thing I would like to highlight here, it's about the skeletal mass. Most of us, when we are old, we complain of pain in the legs. Maybe you slide a little and the leg is broken. It's about the amount of calcium that you're able to deposit when you're young. What I'm saying is, most of us, when we are old, we complain about pain in the legs. You slide a little and the leg is broken. So what I'm saying is, this is as a result of the calcium deposited when you're young. Yes. So now that most of us are adults and we may not have a lot to change, we can change for our children. Ensure they have a balanced diet, because whatever that I mentioned here, by the way, one point that I forgot to emphasize on, we've given the different examples of foods in the different food groups. However, it doesn't mean that for you you're going to choose to eat maybe rice and meat every day plus nakati, because that's already balanced, and that's what we said. No, we are saying that even in these different food groups, for example, these are vegetables. What exactly is in the burger, much as it's a vegetable, it's not exactly the same in the nakati. So better you eat a variety so that you maximize the nutrients. You get? I may not be able to go into the details of the minerals, the calcium, the magnesium, the what. Those are so many complicated things. But what I'm saying is, you try to eat a variety. Today, if you eat nakati, or if for lunch you eat burger, for supper you can choose to eat cabbage. They are all vegetables, but we still need a variety even from the vegetables. We still need a variety even from the fruits. The same applies to the bodybuilding foods and also from the carbohydrates. The saying is, calcium is deposited as we grow. But past the adolescent stage, no more deposition happens in the bones. What you deposited is what is supposed to take you through. So that is why we have so many instances of your old age. You slide a little and the leg is broken. You didn't deposit enough calcium. Adolescents, and late adolescent stops at, is it like 21 years? Around there. Below 15. Yes, madam. Supplements. They can happen, however, we are saying the main thing is this, because it's more of preventative. By-the-end nutrition is very important, and I think it would be a very, I think like a main focus for us, because with nutrition, you're going to boost the immunity. You'll not have any other diseases attacking you or your children because you've boosted your immunity through nutrition. Secondly, you develop the brain. Your children are able to think. They're able to be creative. I don't know why most people take it on, they think it's very light, but nutrition is not light. So thank you so much, the administration of LAMS, for recognizing how important and significant nutrition is. Yes. So, any other questions? Yes, please. Yes. Yes. It has so many importances. It has so many importances in the body. It's not just about the strong bones. You get? My friend, the best thing is to eat the natural foods than the supplements. It stops at like 21. To pump. Okay. Okay, so we are saying adolescence is a very vulnerable period of life, and the reason being there is a growth spurt. Like I've already emphasized, the growth rate is increasing even during this stage, and also there are changes in lifestyle and eating behaviors. We see some of our children starting bad habits like now smoking, substance use, and other eating disorders. For example, skipping meals as they are so much concerned about their image and whatever. So these make it a very vulnerable stage of life. They need a lot of nutrients, and yet there are so many factors around them that are decreasing intake. So the nutrition needs for adolescents, just like all the other stages we've talked about, they still need high energy for growth and the physical activity. They need protein for the rapid growth. They also need mineral salts, specifically or especially calcium, for the bone and skeletal development. Then they also need fruits and vegetables and plenty of grains. And we are saying, on average, adolescent males require more food than females because of their bigger lean body mass. I already talked about that. Yes, please. So we have nutrition limitations for adolescents. Some of these, they are not specific to the stage. They apply to all stages, even to us adults. So we are saying one of the nutrition limitations is the foods high in fat. These are sources of energy, but the main source should be whole grains. My friend will talk more about those. And then the other nutrition limitation is about the food that is high in salt. We are saying limit salt intake, for it poses a risk to serious health conditions such as hypertension. Our children should also avoid alcohol and aim at a balanced diet and avoid fast foods. Then they should also limit sugar to avoid overweight, other chronic diseases, and dental caries. So I also pointed out some nutrition concerns in adolescents. The first one being iron deficiency anemia, the other being obesity, and also eating disorders, and lastly, substance use. To talk more about the iron deficiency anemia, we are saying girls are more at risk with the onset of menstruation. They are losing blood, and so they need to replace it. Then boys are also at risk, though not as much as girls. And then the risk factors for anemia, they continue to talk more about them. They are saying they are at risk because of the change in food habits, the heavy menstruation, and some use drugs. So what are the symptoms of anemia? When you look at your child, what can you see and realize they have anemia? They could be fatigued, like every time the child tells you they don't have energy, it's possible that they may not be having enough blood. But just to break it down, anemia, it's more of low blood volume. Are we together? There are so many causes of low blood volume. However, us as nutritionists, we are trying to focus on those that are nutrition related. And the main one is iron deficiency. Iron is one of the nutrients that we talked about, and it's mostly in the fruits and vegetables, the meat, the what. I didn't go into much details in that, but however, you know that if you eat a balanced diet, you may be able to get all those minerals like the iron now. Are we together? And then the other symptom of anemia could be pica, and pica means craving of non-food items like chalk, clay, pepper. Even in us adults, especially the pregnant women, we tend to crave for clay, we tend to crave for chalk. That's not natural. It's a sign that you're lacking some nutrients that you're trying to get through eating that clay, through eating that charcoal, and it's not healthy because in the clay, you might even eat worms. Yes. So better you get all your nutrients from food. Are we together? So, and the other symptom of anemia, it's dizziness, frequent headaches. They are also pale, and that is the main symptom. Pallor. They tend to be pale. Even when you go to a hospital, they tend to check. They're trying to see if you're pale or not. And then there is shortness of breath, chest pain, and then brittle nails. Those are some of the pictures trying to show you pallor. They are demonstrating pallor. Pallor is more like pale palms. Here it's the conjunctiva or the eye. So for anemia, we are saying the main cause is about the inadequate intake of iron or not eating a balanced diet. So the prevention, how can you prevent anemia? It is through eating a balanced diet, because from this you're going to be able to get all the nutrients that are responsible to form blood in the body. Are we together? Thank you. We said anemia can be caused by different things, though for us we are trying to focus on nutrition. And one of those other many things include malaria. So sleeping under a mosquito net can help you to prevent malaria, which will in turn lead to what? To anemia. And then deworming. Worms, even as adults, how often do you deworm? When did you last deworm? Worms feed on blood. And that can lead to anemia, blood loss. How often do we deworm our children? So, I also put down some effects of anemia. There are many, some are scientific, but at least to point out, anemia reduces immunity, and also it reduces cognitive ability. Cognitive is more of the functioning of the brain. If the child doesn't have enough blood, remember it's through blood that nutrients are supplied in the different parts of the body. They need to feed in order to be active, the brain. So if you do not have enough blood, you're not going to function properly. The problem is obesity. This condition used to be so common among adults, but nowadays even our children. And this is majorly because of what we feed them. My friend is going to focus on this, the unhealthy foods that we give our children. And you bear me witness that indeed this is what we feed them on mostly. In order to make them happy, you give them Minute Maid, quick snacks, take them for KFC. This is what we think is good, but it's actually not healthy. That is why the rate of obesity in our children is going high. These foods are high in sugar, they are high in fat, they are high in salt. Are we together? You find a child of 5 years is having diabetes. Those diseases used to be for old people. But now, for rich people, he says. But nowadays, it's even very common in our children. It's about what we eat. It's about what we feed them. So we are saying obesity, it's also a major public health issue, and it's caused by changing behavior with consumption of junk foods and also lack of physical activity. Obesity wouldn't be an issue because most of us interpret it as just being big in size. We didn't have an issue with being big in size. However, it puts you at a risk of so many other diseases. If it was not coming along with all these other diseases, we'd just consider you being healthy. But we are saying obesity puts our children, or even us as adults, at a risk of other diseases like hypertension. Here I put it as insulin resistance, but it means that you're also at risk of diabetes when your body can no longer respond to insulin. Are we together? And also those other heart diseases. So how can we manage it as nutritionists? We are saying the first thing is weight management. And how do you manage your weight? It's through what you eat plus being physically active. Like I've showed you here, what you eat. We are emphasizing, especially for weight management, we are emphasizing whole grains, fruits and vegetables. You know why? Does anyone know why? There is something we call fiber. I don't know if you know about it. Has anyone ever heard about fiber? Does everyone understand what fiber is? Not everyone. I don't know. How can I explain it? Okay, so you look at now like this booger. Eh? It has like, should I call them strings? Roughage. Eh? Yes, or woozy. Those woos are good. They are not digested by the body. However, they are going to regulate how much how much sugar goes into your system. Are we together? The woozy, yeah? You see, this has woozy, this has woozy, this has woozy, everything has woozy. I'll give an example of like posho. Most of us like the highly milled, that grade 1, it's just pure white. That doesn't have the bran. But what happens is when you eat it, within 30 minutes, a very short time, the blood will have started spiking in your blood. Just to take you back a little. We talked of energy-giving foods, the carbohydrates. These, when we eat them, they are broken down in the body into sugar, into glucose. So don't be there thinking you're regulating your blood sugar by simply leaving out sugar, the one for tea. Yeah? Are we together? Someone will think they are eating healthy. They are trying to avoid diabetes. They no longer take sugar. They left those things. However, very big on the highly refined rice, very big on the highly refined posho. We are saying all these that I mentioned in the energy-giving foods in the body, they are broken down into sugar. That's how they enter blood. So I was giving you an example of like the posho grade 1, the one that is highly milled. When you eat it, within a very short time, your blood sugar has already gone up. And yet, if you eat the one whereby they left some bran, it slows down the rate at which sugar enters your blood. Are we together? I hope I'm not confusing you. Yes, please. Yes, please. Whole grains. I'll give you an example now like of maize. If I go and I eat roasted maize and someone eats porridge made from grade 1, me who has eaten maize, roasted maize, I've eaten it as a whole, I've eaten it with a bran. The bran is now like the woozy I talked of in the roughage. Are you together? The whole maize is healthier. And the reason I've given, the rate at which sugar is going to enter my blood is slower compared to the one who has taken very refined. And you see why we are discouraging these. My colleague will emphasize. Most of these contained refined sugars, processed sugars. The moment you eat it, sugar is already going high. And yet in the natural foods, if you eat it as natural as it was created, the rate is going to be slower. You may not be having a problem with your sugar spiking, but in the long run, it will lead to diabetes. And so many people are suffering from diabetes nowadays. Chachu. Yes. So, I should be summarizing. And then the other nutrition problem among our adolescents is about substance use. The examples of substances that our adolescents abuse include tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. We are saying these affect their nutrition status, as some of them reduce or suppress appetite. And in so doing, they reduce nutrient intake. Like if you do not have enough appetite, that means that even your intake of food is going to be lower. Then there are also increased nutrient losses. I'm not going to talk about the mechanism of how this happen. However, I'm trying to show you that these substances, they lead to nutrient losses or malabsorption. And then decreased financial resources for food. This applies even to us adults. If you're an alcoholic, that means you're going to divert money meant for food to buy more alcohol. And these people are social. They tend to buy for themselves and also for others, hence diverting the money that was meant for food. The other thing is about food safety. I may not even follow the slides, I'm just going to summarize. So you may eat all these as they have been recommended, but how safe are they? If, for example, the food is contaminated, a child can end up getting diarrhea. And you know what happens in diarrhea? What you eat just comes out, like it's not utilized by the body. Are we together? So much as you're trying to follow the recommendations of balanced diet and whichever, ensure that also you put into consideration the food safety bit, so that the body you've eaten, the food that you've eaten is utilized by the body. And then we also talked about physical activity. I don't know if you all know, someone can ask you talking about physical activity, but which examples do we have? Even just walking is also a form of physical activity. Where you can walk, please walk, so that every time you have to use your car. And then also engaging in sports, cleaning the house, cycling, swimming, all those things. The recommended from World Health Organization is about 60 minutes per day. Should spend at least 60 minutes per day in vigorous or moderate physical activity. And we are saying physical activity has so many importances, not just about weight management, but also mental health. If you've ever been stressed and you decide to go for a walk, you can come back feeling better. Yes, stronger bones and muscles. So we have some recommendations. The first one is to the parents, and we encourage you to deworm your children. As we talked about it earlier, it's possible that the child eats the recommended diet. However, it's not utilized by the body, but rather by worms. At least after 6 months, every after 6 months. And this deworming is not even just for children, but all of us. And then we also encourage our parents to provide food eaten in their home, like as the quality we've described, and also to serve as role models for eating behavior. Now for me, in my home, we grew up not eating turkey and all the over ducks and all those things. The fact that I grew up like that, even now that I'm an adult, I cannot eat that. So that means even in our homes, what our children grow up seeing, that's what they will take on even in their adult life. So it's very important for us parents to be role models for good or healthy eating behaviors. And then for our administration, we recommend diversification of school meals. For example, adding fruits and vegetables, especially if they are in season. Then you may also rear a variety of animals, for example, the chicken to provide the eggs. And in so doing, these will be cheap sources of safe, sufficient, and nutritious food. I don't know if you have a school garden, but it could as well be a source of cheap, fresh fruits and vegetables to our learners.
Thank you so much for that very insightful presentation. Do we have?
At the end of the day, I have done the balanced diet. I have every other nutrient on my plate. What's the recommended time I should have dinner, if I may put it that way? And what's the recommended time I should have breakfast? I should have lunch, snacking, and everything else that comes within the day's, eating. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mine is not really a question, but maybe for you to elaborate more on the vegetables, these vegetables you've put here. In some of our communities, you find people overcook vegetables. I interacted with one of my elderly mothers. I had prepared some veggies, and when she came, she's like, "Oh, this thing is not well cooked," and she put it again on fire and overcooked it.
Mine is a supplement, and maybe to help us relieve anxiety on the calcium. As we grow, still, again, the rate at which the body absorbs the calcium is low, but we can still strengthen the bones through exercise. When we walk, if, let me say, a doctor has prescribed the supplements, So for your body, for the bones to take them in, you have to use the bones so that they can be strengthened. So when we exercise, it's the only way the bones are going to be strengthened for us to take it in. And maybe for the women, we should try premenopausal, because once we get into the menopause, there's estrogen in our body that helps us to take in the calcium. Once we cross over to menopause, we no longer have the estrogen, so we cannot really take in as much calcium. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I was asking about fruits, because you find people say you eat fruits 1 hour before food, or you eat it 1 hour after food. So at what point do you eat fruits? Before a meal or immediately after a meal? We have to take in the nutrients because the kids have to grow here.
First of all, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. Comment on amounts of food, especially as we grow. I remember a time when I would really eat a lot, and I don't know where the food would go, but now you eat little and you are full. And sometimes you wonder, okay, so am I having enough? Is there if you could comment on that dynamic as we grow old? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mine is about the sugar that we take. You realize that almost every day we take sugar. But then the point comes in when the nutritionists are talking, they discourage us from taking sugar. So my question is, what are the possible cheap alternatives to sugar that we can have? Because we realize every day at school we take sugar.
Thank you so much. I know this is child-centered, but I'm asking for the adults. We want to look good, we want to look young, especially the ladies. Yeah. I saw a clip on the YouTube. A lady was claiming she has been eating Smile Vegetarian. She was 60-something. I hope she was not lying. But she was looking like a 40 or 30-something. So you tell us about something to do with the food and how it affects our appearance.
Thank you so much for all those questions. It seems you're really following and interested. So I don't know where should I start from. I'll start with a question about sugar. As I talked about it earlier, all the sources of energy in the body, they are broken down into sugar. So it's not just about the sugar you put in your tea that we are limiting. I hope you get the point. Some people think using honey is a healthier option. But the only difference is there are no, I should say, like preservatives. There are no so much chemicals in honey compared to sugar. However, when it comes to sugar contribution in your blood, actually honey contributes more than sugar. So if you want to regulate your blood sugar, the focus should be on basically these refined carbohydrates, the refined posho, the refined rice. Most of us eat this, but it's refined. I've been to a supermarket. That's where I also saw it. There is whole rice. Yeah. So if you want to be healthy, if you want to limit sugar, you should focus on whole grains. You should focus on fruits and vegetables, not just the sugar in your tea. Because these, at the end of the day, they are all broken down into sugar. That's how your body absorbs them. Sugar or glucose in the blood. Are we together? And then there was a question about the amounts of food that we take. Earlier I talked about it's more like demand for nutrients. It's driven by growth and development. You realize when we are young, our growth is high. But now as adults, nothing much is changing. Are we together? So when you're growing, definitely your body needs a lot of nutrients to facilitate the growth. Now that we are adults, we are not adding much. The food you're eating is basically for your daily activities and maybe pumping of the heart, but not growing. You get? And yet when you're young, you needed it for growth. You needed to jump, energy to run around. I hope you get the point. So your amount of food reduced because the growth rate, I should say we are not even growing. Anyway, yeah, nothing much is changing really now that we are adults. And then, probably. And then someone talked about vegetables, overcooking vegetables. As I told you, the amount of time we've been given is small compared to how much we can cover. Even for these nutrients, they are there. You may eat the booger, but if it's not prepared the right way, you might eat, I should say, empty booger, like you've lost the nutrients. There are some nutrients that are prone to being lost. For example, if you over-soak it, you're washing it and you first leave it for like 2 hours in the water, some nutrients are going to leach, they call it leaching, into the water. Even for the overcooking, it's very true. If you overcook, there are still some nutrients that are very liable to heat. You still lose those ones. That is why it's recommended, for example, if you're going to cut, what example can I give? Even if it's for these greens, even if you're going to maybe to chop them, better you first wash and chop after. Because if you chop before, the rate of nutrient loss is going to be higher than, yes, seems you're a very good class, even if I don't complete the statement. And then for the amount of water, a bit raw. Basically just to kill the germs. Yes. You see, good nutrition is not easy. Whatever that we are recommending, it's not as appeasing as what we are against. But okay, so someone was asking about the amount of water. How much water should they take? Just like I talked about the amount of food. We have different bodies. We are different people. There are so many factors that affect your demand for water. For example, if one is pregnant, their amount of water is not the same that another person may need. Or if you're physically active, every now and then you're sweating, you go to gym, the amount of water you need is not the same as I do. You get? So there are so many factors that affect how much of water or even other nutrients that one needs. For example, if a child is dehydrating, the amount of fluids or the amount of water that they need is not the same as a child who is okay. Yes, please.
People say you should take 2 liters every day. Is it like a standard? I think it's
No.
too much.
It's not too much. Just like I've told you, it depends on how physically active you are and all those so many other factors. It's possible. Actually, for someone who is very physically active, 2 liters might actually even be small for them. Someone can tell you, may I take 5? I take 3. Yes. Yes. So different scenarios require different amounts. And then, what time to eat? So basically, recommend like 5 meals in a day. 5 meals. Yes. Eh? No, not for the growing, even us. We recommend 5 meals in a day. Why should they? So what I'm saying is that the 5 meals, they include, first is breakfast, lunch, supper, and 2 snacks in between. Like you have breakfast, like at around 8. You have like a snack at around 11. You have lunch at 1, a snack at around 3. Probably supper at 7. 5 meals in a day. Especially for our children. I talked about their stomachs being small, and yet they need a lot of nutrients. So we said the recommendation is, yes, they take the small that they can handle, but rather more frequently. In fact, for them, it might even be higher than 5 meals in a day. Yes. I hope I've been able to What point to eat fruits? I don't think time really matters. What reason did they give that we shouldn't eat fruits before food? Fruits are part of food. They kill appetite? No, it's these that kill appetite. Fruits actually are appetite boosters. Yes, please.
So one time I traveled with my friends, and they were eating fruits. Whereas the other way around, you first eat and then eat the fruits. But for them, they were eating the fruits first, so that they fill up the what? The volume, and then they take it. It causes them to take less of the what? Of the food. That's the trick. That's the cycle. How about doctor? It works.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Because you start with the healthy, feel it there. Then by the time you reach the chips and what?
Yeah, actually, it's true. It's true because I talked about fiber earlier, right? The abuuzi. Also, fruits have the abuuzi. So when you eat, remember I told you these are not digested, but they make you feel full. For example, if a person has eaten cabbage and the other has eaten, I should say, like chips, this one is going to feel satisfied for a very long time. Like the rate of digestion is even slower for these fiber-rich foods compared to the refined ones. So if that is the logic, it's okay. You want to cut weight, you want to eat little, you eat fruits first, you eat vegetables, a lot of cabbage, and after you eat very little food, and you feel satisfied throughout the day, and you ate little food. It works, especially for weight management. Yeah, and then he also asked a question about, was it looking young? Yes, fruits and vegetables and hydration. You see these lotions that we use, they are rich in vitamin A, vitamin E, and all those things are here naturally. Naturally, vitamin A, vitamin E, and hydration, moisturizing the skin. Amounts. Thank you.
Wow. Do we still have questions in the house?
You talked about the rice, and I realized that most families cannot afford the other rice that is whole. So in most cases, they go for this refined rice. But can we reduce the amounts of sugar if we wash it, like, say, 3 times before cooking?
My question is for especially the children 3 to 6. If a child will just not eat their food, they will say there is a balanced meal, but they will hardly eat. They will have, say, a meal a day or none, but they will pick out the fruit, they will pick out the veggies, they will not eat the carbohydrates. How do we push them to eat or motivate them to eat? Should we add color to the food? I hear you have colors of food, so they're attracted to the food. How do we help those children?
The speaker said that worms feed on blood. Now I have a question here. These friends of ours who drink alcohol, and I think alcohol gets into blood. So when the worms feed on this blood that is full of alcohol, imagine how alcohol can make a human go off. Will the worms survive?
Mine is about salt in vegetables. I grew up in an environment where they would cook a lot of vegetables, but there was no salt, and it was a rule. So is it okay to put or not to put? Putting the science behind our side.
Rice. Can you wash it maybe 2 or 3 times to reduce the sugars? The answer is no. What makes rice refined is that they blow off the bran. You know, it's blown off. The fiber we were talking about, the one which when you eat, it regulates the rate at which sugar enters your blood. So once that component is not there in the rice, you cannot wash it to help control the sugar that goes into your blood. So maybe what we can do is look for cheaper types of rice, but that are not refined. You know, the ones that have undergone just one step of removing the husk, the cover. Then that's what you do. I don't know if I've answered the question. Yeah. So the other one was asking about low appetite in children and how to motivate them to eat. Children, like we said, they like copying, they like imitating. So we could just encourage them to eat by eating the food ourselves. Like you get a bowl of, say, a fruit salad, and then you eat together with them as you're interacting and engaging with them, and you make it a fun activity. You know, something they enjoy, something they look forward to. I'm going to spend time with mommy, and we're going to eat our fruit salad. You know, something like that. It's a creative kind of way. So you just learn your child, see what they like, and then incorporate the healthy habits in there. So that's what you do. You know, and you give them time. You do it in a non-forceful way, just in a way that makes them feel special, makes them feel loved, and you nurture your child as you're doing the feeding. Yeah. So that's for that. And now the person who asked about alcohol and how it can kill worms. Well, one, there is no way I would recommend you to take alcohol because it's one of the things that we are trying to limit and actually avoid, right? So it's not going to be a mechanism you'll use to deworm. Just go get dewormed at the hospital. Yeah? Yeah, so you're not going to kill worms while doing something harmful as taking a lot of alcohol to see if the worms will die. Yeah. So salt in vegetables. Salt is also one of the things we want to reduce. So as a general rule, try to eat as little salt as possible in your food. Now for the vegetables, for example, Nakati, someone was asking about preparation. Yes. Vegetables are very sensitive in such a way that their components, the ingredients, the things we're looking for, the things that will keep us healthy in them, they're easily destabilized. For example, when you're cooking vegetables and then you throw them in very high heat, hot oil, you'll find that you're going to kill most of the nutrients. Or when you just soak them in water, you can't even see it. When you soak buga in water, you're going to see the water turning red. Those are all the nutrients that you were supposed to have consumed. When you put nakati in water, the water will turn green. That is, you're losing out. Yeah? So you want to wash the vegetables in running water as fast as possible, and then you chop them and cook them in a very short time. For example, maybe 5 minutes. You're sure you have killed the germs and you retain the nutrient. Yeah? Yes. And as for salt, yeah, make sure it's as little as possible. If you can do without, better. Yeah. Nakati is very tasty. Its taste is just enough. It's just enough without salt. Yeah, do you have anything else? There's a question on calcium. I don't know if it was a question. Someone was inquiring about supplementation and if it could be helpful when you're older. The answer is, as you age, like my colleague mentioned, the absorption of calcium sort of dwindles down. But the body is still utilizing calcium from the storage in the bones. So what you can do maybe is to reduce the rate at which this calcium is being removed from your bones, and then that's how you can try to prevent things like osteoporosis, weak bones, easy easy cracking and breaking and things like that. So yes, do not say I'm no longer going to eat calcium-rich foods because it's not essential for me. No, it still is. You can help your body to reduce the rate at which it's using up the stored calcium. By eating, if it is in the body, then it can be utilized, right? Then the rate at which it's being removed from your bones is kind of reduced. Yeah. Are we okay?
What if I decided to blend the vegetables? Is it okay? Then I've heard something when it comes to fruits and juice. They say it's more recommended for you to eat the direct fruit than to drink the juice. Please advise.
Talk about oil. Simanyi sunseed is healthier than Rocky. Please talk about the oil.
Okay, are we done with the questions for now? All right. So, someone asked about batch cooking. Batch cooking, are we talking about cooking in bulk and then you pack? Okay. This would be a very time-saving kind of way of preparing your meals. However, the challenge is in safety of the food, the storage conditions. They will affect the quality of food you'll get. And then also, storage containers. We have issues with hygiene and sanitation. You prepare, store it, and then you come back tired and you want to eat the food, and then you find that instead of nourishing the body, you're actually harming it. So you will need to be a bit keen on that and ensure that if you're going to do it, you know exactly how to prepare your dishes and you know how you're going to store them well in such a way that you are doing more good than harm, because there's a risk with batch cooking. We recommend that if you're going to eat food, it should be prepared and consumed within at least 2 hours. Because, yes, listen. This is because we're trying to reduce the risk of contamination. Because the food is already prepared, unless you're going to cook it again, in which case, if you're going to store the food and then remove it and cook it again, we've already seen that there is also another risk of nutrient loss, right? So if you're going to cook it and then it gets ready, then you store it. So then what are you going to do? Are you going to just remove it and eat it directly? If so, there is a risk. You understand my concern, right? So I would like to have maybe someone explain more on this batch method of cooking and food storage so that I can see the conditions within which you're doing this. Otherwise, there are associated risks that could lead to disease and nutrient loss. Yeah. Aside from that, there was also another question on blending of vegetables. Blending is okay, but there is a risk. Yeah? Vegetables I got from the garden. I'm guessing this is, from the garden to the market to now your home where you're going to get it and blend. There's been a lot of contamination along the way. So how sure are you that what you're blending, like when you eat it, it's a safe food, right? So you want to treat your food and make sure that you kill off the germs so that the food is safe. Much as you want to nourish your body, make sure that you're doing it in a safe way. Yes, so whoever is doing blending, it's a good method. Just ensure that the food you're blending is safe.
And then just to add on, she was also inquiring, was it even an inquiry? You said some people recommend eating a fruit as a whole rather than juice. That is true, and it's because of the fiber component I talked about, the buozi. When you blend, in most cases, you sieve off. And we are saying even what you sieve off has an importance. It has a role in the body, you get. So whole food, you eat everything. And yet when you blend, you're putting away something that still has a role it could have played in the body. Yes. And then there was also a question about healthy oil. We didn't want to go into details of oil, but even among fats, there are good fats and bad fats. So for now, what I can say is olive oil is good. One, it's plant-based. It's from plants. The ones from animals, they're the ones that have the most issues. That's why when it comes to meat, we mostly recommend lean meats. I don't know if you are together. It's mostly the fats from animals that have issues. These other ones, especially olive oil, it's okay. And then, still about fats, there are so many issues around fats. For example, if you're to look at the chips, these chips vendors, they keep reusing the oil every day. At some point, it even becomes dark. You get the point? Like, that's not healthy. Like we've been talking about, is it nutrient losses? This oil also, it's destabilized by so many things. Now that overexposure to heat, a chips vendor using it today, using it tomorrow. Those are the sources of cancers, one of the sources of cancers nowadays. I hope I'm clear.
So do we have any more questions in the house? This is an interactive session, so what you ask is what we will be responding to.
Mainly advice on how to handle the safety of the greens, especially with a lot of toxicity and the vendors trying to keep them having a longer lifespan. So how can we detoxify them for them to keep the nutrients? Thank you.
Most people have microwaves. If you don't have it at home, you may get to a supermarket and you get food and you tell them to warm it. How safe are microwaves for warming food before we eat?
Question about fasting in relation to nutrition. We know about fasting for spiritual reasons, but there's a lot of talk around fasting for nutrition reasons. If you can make a comment on that. Is it useful? Is it something that we should do? And if so, how? For nutrition reasons specifically.
Mine is about milk. So, growing up, we're told milk is so healthy, milk is so good for you, it's the plus. But I have, let me say my mom or some relatives who have this school of thought, milk is not good for you. Milk is good for you after you finish taking your mom's milk. That should be the end of you taking milk. Because what business do you have taking another animal's milk? So there's some thought that it's not healthy. And guys, yeah, I've had this. I do have some people in my circle who actually don't take milk and they've not been affected. Funny thing, my kids also don't love milk. I'm not a fan of milk. But it's not that when I take it, I get sick. But I've had that school of thought. So I would want to know more about the milk. Then the second one is foil paper, Yeah, you'll warm your food, you put foil. I see a lot of foil used, even in parties. People cover their food with foil, but they say it's not good. So how are we supposed to measure? Because it's...
Wow. Very serious questions. So we're going to start with microwaving. Just like any other method, it has risks, right? So it's a very nutrient-preserving method of cooking, and it's also fast. So for people who don't have time, I can see why you would choose this as the main method of cooking. We've not yet addressed cancers. I don't know if we have time to address that. But there is a certain risk of cooking food using microwaves that is associated with cancers. When it comes to nutrients, we are good. They are preserved, right? And the food is safe in terms of contamination. But as regards predisposition to other non-communicable diseases, that's a whole topic. Yeah. Someone asked about milk. I'm not very clear on your question. Some people got sick, is it? Could you please clarify?
What I've heard is that you take milk up to a certain point of life. So you're born, recommendation, 6 to 1 year, you stop. The milk we are taking is actually, this animal milk is from animals who have just, also had their young ones. So that's their milk. So there's this school of thought, you have no business taking milk beyond a certain age. But it's something that's growing up, we've been encouraged to take milk. When I was in school, where I come from, there was free milk at school. So I just need to understand, is it healthy? Is it not healthy? Why do we have two schools of thought, and which is the correct one? Or we just make up our minds on it?
Milk is a very good source of nutrients, especially the proteins, the bodybuilding foods, and the calcium that we have been so much into. The challenge now is in the way milk is being processed. People don't want their merchandise. They don't want their products to go bad, so they compromise on your health so that they can make profit. So that's the challenge we have. Milk in itself is a good food. You can always take it, even if you are old, like 100. It is a food, and in its natural form, it's very nutritious. However, the issue lies with the additives, the things they put in. More sugar, more preservatives, more chemical stabilizers. So that's where the challenge comes in. And if you realize that food is not safe, don't take it. Do not drink unsafe milk just because you want to get nourishment from it. Opt for another alternative. Try to dig up natural alternatives, the ones that are not highly processed. Yes. So someone asked about fasting. Is it a good behavior trait? Well, this is subjective. It depends on whether your body can handle it. So if you feel like you're well enough, or you said fasting for nutrition reasons, right? So your body has a mechanism of utilizing what you put in and then getting rid of whatever is excess or whatever is not needed. So for some people, as a way of helping your body do what it should do, you might opt to fast so that you cleanse the system, right? You don't pack it so much. So you do it to allow the system to flush out the excess, right? Most people who do this do it when they feel bloated, or they're constipated, or they don't feel okay. We haven't mentioned this, but it's very important to always respond to your body. When you feel hungry, eat. Otherwise, you get ulcers, right? When you feel satisfied, stop. Otherwise, you get too heavy for your bones to carry you, right? So if you feel like, okay, yesterday I was at this party and I ate too much, my body is suffering trying to work through this, you can opt to fast, Don't eat in the morning, don't eat at lunchtime, maybe eat at 4, right? But that's only if you can handle it and if your body is in good shape, if you have issues, if you have a certain illness, if you're in a certain physiological state of life, for example, pregnancy, you cannot fast. You will be harming yourself and the baby, right? Or if you're in any kind of medication, there are recommendations that go with that. Drink milk, drink plenty of water, do not drive, do not drink alcohol. So just follow the recommendations and listen to your body. So yes, fasting could be beneficial to you if you do it correctly and if you keep listening to your body. So I've been asked to wind up. I don't know if there are still any questions in the house.
To do with children. There are very many cases recently that are coming up of children getting ulcers, yet most children get all 3 meals or even 4, some even 5. They get all their meals, yet they are getting ulcers. Where could this be coming from?
Morning. I don't think mine is a question, but if I may, let me play devil's advocate here. So, from my own personal experience of, and from what I've had through all this session, I'm hearing a lot of questions coming through and picking from what I've experienced from the nutrition perspective, looking at it from the community nutrition perspective and then the clinical nutrition. I think at the end of the day, we have to take the initiative to reach out and have some kind of clinical nutrition done at an individual level. It's because there are no absolutes here, okay? Many times the responses you're getting are things to do with, it's dependent on your body and all these kind of things. It's not going to be a one-size-fits-all. So we have to take the initiative individually to invest in nutritionists, okay? Because we may talk about what a complete plate of food is supposed to look like. I personally speak for myself. I only have carbohydrates the first 4 hours of the day. Beyond that, I don't. Okay? And I've been healthy for the longest possible time. If I wanted to drop 2 kgs a week, I can do it because I know my metabolism, I know my body fat ratio and everything. But all that has come from the fact that I was able to invest in a nutritionist, okay? I see them every quarter and kind of have a meal plan and all these kind of things. But beyond that, it was a problem. Yeah. Thank you.
I've been reminded that there was a question on using foil for wrapping foods, in baking, and the like. Well, I don't know. I'm all about risks. So I have some inquiries on that. What type of foil are you using? Because if it's just regular foil and non-food grade foil, you'll find that there is leakage of that aluminium into your food. Most of it can be passed out through the urine. However, long-term absorption of those small amounts of aluminium that remain in the food will lead to non-communicable diseases. Yeah, it will have a health effect. So I do not recommend the use of foil for wrapping or cooking food. It's not a healthy option. Oh, there's a question on ulcers. Someone eats all their foods in the right time and yet they still got ulcers. Well, not eating food on time is one of the leading causes of ulcers. However, it's not the only one. There are other predisposing factors. For example, the type of food you eat. Ulcers is basically a wound, a wound in your stomach, okay, to put it simply, right? So there are many things that could cause you to get a wound. One of the things is eating food that will burn the lining, you know. And the challenge with the stomach is that the digestive enzymes themselves will increase the size and the extent to which your wound increases. So once you get a wound there, it's difficult for it to heal because every day you're producing these enzymes to digest food, you know. So I commend you on the fact that you eat all your meals on time. However, you may need to get treatment, medical treatment, for the ulcer to go. Yeah. So yes, even though you eat all your meals, you may still get ulcers because of the other factors. So it's not strictly because you don't eat food, so you'll get ulcers. There are other things. Maybe it's the types of food you eat. If you eat foods which are going to erode and burn your skin in the stomach, like the skin, for example, the intestines have skin too. They have a special type of skin that is supposed to be in the stomach, but it's soft skin, you know. So when you subject it to things like alcohol, like my friend was saying, it is going to affect your stomach. And then there are also some foods that are too acidic. We do not recommend eating these foods alone. You know, if it's going to be an acid food, combine it with something else that will sort of neutralize the effect of the acid in that food, so that you do not get a wound in your stomach. It will take a very long time to heal. Some may not even heal, and you could die. Okay, so since there are no more questions in the house, we're going to look at unhealthy foods. They're advertising how they are affecting us, how they are affecting our children. This is going to be a brief summary. I'm not even going to project, but these are things we already know. My colleague has talked a lot about high sugar foods, highly refined foods, the ones which they've blown off the brand. I had someone ask, where are we going to get chachu? As a human, you don't go look for chachu. You eat food that already has the chachu in it. You don't look for the one which has been refined. That's what we mean by whole grains. You know, if it's rice, if it's posho, you eat the one which is non-refined, so that the chachu is already there. You're not chicken, so you will eat the one which is already there. If they are getting maize, and then they are going to meal it, don't go for number one, the one which is very white. Get the one which still has some brown in it. That's the one that has chachu. It's chachu in it. That's the roughage that is going to help the food move properly in the gut, right? It's going to help you go to the toilet on time. It's going to prevent constipation, and it's going to reduce the rate at which sugar is got from the food and into your blood. It's going to prevent sugar spikes. Why do we want sugar spikes to be limited? Because if you consistently have high sugar in your blood, you get diabetes, right? Right. So, we have here Minute Maid, a very well-packed product, very attractive, very tasty. I have taken some of this. It's very nice, and it is addictive. Once you drink this, you kind of always crave it. When you go to the shop, you want to get this, you know. And this is even worse for children, because when they go with what they feel and not what they know, right? So you feel like, oh yeah, last time I took Minute Maid and it was nice. And then I saw on TV they were advertising it. It looks cool. It's fun. And when I do this, when I take the Minute Maid, I look like my friends, right? So we are together. You remember, they like copying, they like imitating, and they like what's cool. Echiriko chetugenda nacho, right? So that's what advertising is doing. It's causing us to go with echiriko. And echiriko is not luombo, unfortunately. Right? it's KFC, Streetwise, a bucket of chicken, you know? And the chicken, eating chicken is not bad. Chicken is one of the sources we mentioned earlier, sources of bodybuilding foods. However, the chicken in Streetwise, the chicken from KFC, the trending worldwide market brand for chicken, that chicken, it has been fed a certain kind of way. So it starts right from the feeding of the chicken, from when they are little. You find 8 days, it's almost ready to be cooked. So what are we eating, right? Do you even ever stop to think about what are we eating? Like, you're spending a lot of money to buy this chicken, and then B, it has been prepared in such a way that does not favor your health. You know, they want to make sure it's tasty. It has to look good. It has to look easy to handle, right? You can easily eat it in your office. You can eat it in the car as you're traveling, right? You can pack it for your child in the bag. Unlike the traditional food, you're not going to put matoke and ginat with mukene in it in the baby's bag, right? But you can easily put a snack, right? Like this, well packaged, ready to go. So this is what's affecting us. And it's worse that we're in an era where everyone is on the move. No one is around to sit down and cook food. When you come back, we're all tired. Who is going to start steaming matoke at 9 p.m., right? So what are our options? We have chips. Let's call someone to deliver, right? So they've made it so easy to eat fast foods. They made it so easy to just go buy Minute Maid instead of sitting down to get your sieve and make passion fruit juice, something that's healthy for your child. So what am I saying? High sugar foods, high energy foods, right? I'm saying here sausage, a very good source of protein. However, it is not healthy for us, right? There are cookies ready to go, already in their plates, you know? They are not messy. You can eat this on your table while having a board meeting, and it would be okay. It's acceptable, right? Do we see that trend? Do we see how things are moving? You know, by the time you ask for food to be delivered, even if they deliver that food, you'll find that it's a bit, you feel uneasy to eat your whole grain rice, your matoke on that side, your beans, you know, as you're conducting a meeting. However, it's very easy for you to get some cookies as we eat. In fact, most of these things are served in meetings. You know, they are served. You find at the table, there's juice, there is soda, right? So, in terms of acceptability, we are in an era where these foods have been accepted because of the heavy marketing, the way they've been presented, the way they've been prepared to make sure that you have no way to refuse. Like, why would you not order chips and chicken? Because you don't have time? Just call. It will be at your doorstep. That's what the advertisements are saying. So it's very easy. And when you feel lazy, you're like, let me just eat today. Then you eat, and then it's so nice, it's tasty, and you have time to chill and relax, sit on the couch. Another thing that we want to fight, you know. So it's like a trend, and it has come full force to take you by storm, you know. Everything has been prepared and set. You know, it has been set for you to adapt. You know, there is no way of saying, no, I'll not do this, let me opt for this. Because the other options seem so tedious, they're so exhausting, they're so time-consuming, and they're not tasty. You know, vegetables are not tasty as compared to Streetwise, chicken and chips. However, if you know the impact those foods have on your health, then you can do mindful eating. You choose mindfully. You're like, yes, I understand that fries are exciting and they are fun and they are very tasty. However, my health requires me to eat fruits and vegetables. You know, instead of getting that juice that has no fiber, that is going to spike your blood glucose levels, you choose to eat passion fruit juice without sugar. Or if you want to sweeten it, you have an option of using melons. You don't always have to put sugar, even in children's drinks. So to wrap up, my colleague, I was going to talk about oils, but someone already asked the question and it was addressed, I believe. So, yes, my main concern today as regards to unhealthy eating and marketing was for us to be mindful, be aware of what your environment has, be aware of what's being presented to you, and evaluate its impact on your health. You know, just it's you and your body and your health. And if you don't care about yourself, who is? I'm not going to come and say, please don't eat this. You can eat whatever you want. Just know what it's going to do to you. And then choose wisely, you know. Choose accordingly. You're like, if I eat this, I'm going to get diabetes. So what do I want? Do I want to enjoy right now and spend my entire life suffering, watching whatever is on my plate? Like, no, now this is too much sugar. Reduce this. Or do I want to live healthy and just eat natural foods mindlessly? You know, natural foods come in the state in which they were meant to be consumed. So, when you eat that, your body was set to work with natural foods. You know, they are talked about fiber, and they are talked about a balanced diet. On your plate, there will always be fiber, so you don't have to worry about sugar spikes, right? You know, once this goes into my body, it's going to go normally, smoothly, the way things were supposed to go, right? So you don't have to be counting calories. You don't have to be, if you're eating natural foods, that is, you don't have to be looking out for, how much sugar is in this mango. No, you just eat the mango. The fiber will do the work for you, right? So that's my take home. I hope we all adopt this and do mindful eating. Choose a lifestyle that is supportive of healthy living. I don't know if we should talk about physical activity or we are okay. It was already mentioned that include at least an hour's work of physical activity in your daily routine. You can do whatever you like doing. Some people like dancing, so that can do. You could jump a rope. You could walk. If you're going to buy groceries, please walk to and fro. That's already, you know, these things, nutrition and lifestyle changes that are healthy are things that are day-to-day activities. It's not something that you plan. Do you know you can wake up and decide to do your work in such a way that at the end of the day you realize, okay, I walked to the bank, then I came back, I picked my child from school. You know, when you sit down and count those times, you see that, okay, I've actually exceeded the 60 minutes requirement for physical activity. It's a day-to-day kind of thing. However, if you don't have activities that will cause you to do physical activity, then you can put it in your routine. Say, I'll go to the gym, for those who can, right? But otherwise, this is a lifestyle kind of choice. Just in your daily routine, instead of taking a border from the stage to your home, walk, right? You'll find that these things just work themselves out. In your fridge, ensure that you only have healthy food choices. That way, you don't have to worry, my son is going to open the fridge. What is he going to pick? No. All the choices are healthy. Whatever he wants, he can eat. You know? And we've talked about frequency of eating. When we mentioned the 5 meals a day, everyone was like, what? Now imagine, for your breakfast, you have, what do we usually have? Porridge, right? A cup of porridge, and then you're done. In 3 hours, you eat a vegetable salad. Nothing big. Carrots and cucumber, right? Lunch, you've eaten your balanced diet, the full plate, right? Then at 4, what are you going to eat? A banana, a mango, right? At 7, you have your supper. You want to eat your supper early so that you allow the body to use the food. You allow it to move before you go to lie down. You don't want food to sit there. It causes complications, right? So when you look at how the day goes, do you realize that the 5 meals a day are not really that much? You know? However, if you do 5 meals a day, but this is what you're eating, it will just be disaster. You know? You're packing so much sugar, you're packing so much high fat, bad cholesterol, you're affecting your heart. All that goes and sits in the heart muscle, in the heart, in the arteries, you know. Then you get the high blood pressure, you get the diabetes, you get the cardiovascular diseases, the heart diseases. So please be mindful. Thank you. I was told to some.
Can we give them another hand clap? Thank you very much. Our presenters, our facilitators today.